Hello and welcome to another edition of Hashtag Now Smoking. This is a very special edition because today we're going to be smoking the Alec and Bradley Gatekeeper Robusto with Alec and Bradley Rubin. Hello, guys.
Gary, thanks for having us on.
All right. Well, it's my pleasure to have you, and I've been really waiting a long time for this. I've known your dad a very long time, and you were just like little wee things when we met.
Much bigger now.
Let's just talk a little bit about the cigar, and we're going to learn about you and your company and a whole bunch of things that you guys are working on. And what we have here is the Gatekeeper Robusto. This is your second cigar, correct?
Yeah, so second release.
And it's a 5x50 Robusto. It's labeled as full-bodied or full-flavored, whatever. It's got an Ecuador Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, and Dominican Nicaraguan filler core. And you worked on this cigar with somebody very, very special. That was Ernesto Perez-Carrillo. And we're going to talk about that too. So anyway, I'd like to welcome you to the show. I don't know much more to say other than, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Gatekeeper while I cut and light my cigar.
Bradley, you go ahead. I'm going to light my cigar also.
Okay. Yeah, so Gary, you brought up something that's one of the most important parts about the cigar is that we got to work on it with Ernesto Perez-Carrillo Jr., someone who I think you've known for quite a while as well. I think we've talked about him before. And so he was someone that when I started smoking other people's brands, I finally got to the EPC line. And I think most people would say, they know Ernesto for La Gloria Cubana, but that's something that I never got to experience being younger. So I was immediately drawn to his brands, the La Astoria, the Dusk, Original Rebel. All of his brands are some of my favorites. So we kind of started to talk, what if we did something in the Dominican Republic? Who would we do it with? And I said to Alec, I think we should do it with Ernesto. I mean, we both love his cigars. And I was like, but I don't know, I don't know him. I don't know who does know him. And my father heard, and he's like, oh, I know Ernesto very well. And so he kind of approached them to do the cigar, and Ernesto loved the idea of working with us. So the Gatekeeper, if you look at the band's got kind of it's a Medusa's head being held. And when we were trying to figure out, what's the brand for working with Ernesto? And I always thought Ernesto was this mean, grumpy old man, like very unapproachable, looked scared. I was scared by him. So I was thinking, Ernesto is this, is the Gatekeeper. He, when we get to the gates and he opens them up for us, we'll be on a new path, we'll be on a new journey. And so I thought going with this very gothic, dark theme of what I thought Ernesto was, a very scary person, but actually a super nice guy, teddy bear. Treated us like family, and we still talk all the time. So the inspiration behind Gatekeeper is Ernesto himself. He's such a legend in this industry, and being able to work with someone like himself who's got more experience than Alec and I our ages put together. Very, very special. He's a great man.
Well, I got to tell you, this cigar really looks beautiful, and one of the things we always do here on the show is we kind of give it an inspection, and it's really well packed. The cap clipped beautifully. Also, I noticed he did a flat cap, which is really nice. Nice little kind of a Cuban thing, Yeah. I really like that. And let me see the pre-light flavors. It's kind of salty and kind of leathery.
I got a little bit of nuttiness and a little bit of sweetness.
Yeah, I get more of a nutty and earthy flavor to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so let's light her up. Yeah, so I met your dad, Alan, many, many years ago at one of the old trade shows, before it was the, what is it now, the PCA?
Yep.
Or whatever. And this was still the RTDA. I think it was the show in Nashville or something. And you seemed like such a nice guy. And, we just kind of met. We were standing in the hallway and we just started talking or whatever, but then he brought me over to his booth and he was selling these, three-sided cigars, these triangular cigars.
Yep.
And I
Trilogy.
said, oh boy, that's very innovative, you know?
A little bit of
always,
innovation in an industry with not a lot of innovation, right?
Yeah. And they were good cigars too. So anyway, I've always kind of felt a little bit of kind of an affiliation with your family because my mother, God rest her soul, her maiden name was Rubin.
That's hilarious.
Have that in
spelled
common.
The same way?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, and your dad's been great, and the cigars have been great, and you guys just been wonderful, and it's so good to see you two now doing your own thing, and which actually poses the question of, you know, you probably could have done anything you wanted to do, really, right? I mean, any business you wanted to go into, but when did you realize you wanted to go into the family business?
So for me, it didn't really come until almost the last minute. I was going to University of Central Florida in Orlando, and
okay.
I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, but I took entrepreneurship classes, business classes, to marketing classes. So, I knew I guess if you want to say business is a field, it's a very broad field. But I knew that there was going to be some sort of path like that. And I was always drawn to sports, so maybe a sports marketing situation. But I found myself all throughout college smoking cigars, enjoying them with my friends, introducing them to my friends. And so within the Orlando area, I have, a big group of people that I enjoy cigars with. And by the time it was time to graduate, and now it's time to figure out what the hell am I going to do. And it was pretty easy to reflect on my life and realize how much Alec Bradley has given to me, how much it means to have my name on the company and be affiliated, and the friends and family that I've kind of met just from Alec Bradley, people that have worked at Alec Bradley, I still talk with all the time, other brand, owners. So the experiences and the life that Alec and I have gotten to live because of Alec Bradley was the ultimate reason why I decided to come to Alec Bradley, to continue the growth of the company, make sure people get the same experience that they have, with my father running the company. And if, me and Alec get the opportunity to pass this on to the next generation, to our kids, if they decide that they want to come into it, I don't think you can ask for much more in life.
Yeah, you're young guys. I think you got a ways to go on that, but I just got into the cigar now, and I'm getting kind of a little mix of pepper, like peppery spice, and just a little bit of saltiness, and a little bit of that leather note in there. But it's nice. It's nicely imbalanced. It's nicely.
I definitely get the pepper and the saltiness on it. It's funny because I smoke a lot of the Coronas and the Toros. Okay. And this Robusto is smoking a little bit different, which I'm really enjoying. And it has a little bit more pepper than, I would say, either the definitely more than the Corona. The Toro, I'd say it's pretty much on par, but maybe just a little bit more pepper. I'm really enjoying smoking the Robusto right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not overly peppery. I don't like real peppery cigars.
No.
But
it's pretty mild
I guess
pepper.
I'm assuming it's going to round out a little bit, But I'm looking at the band again. What's with the gold little extras?
They're gold fingers, and they're holding Medusa's head. And Medusa's head had been ripped off or cut off, and it's Medusa. Yeah, and that's her Medusa's head being held by the hand.
And then the gold on the bottom is gold blood.
Blood.
Ooh.
So. Well. Gary, I have a question for you, because you guys do so many kind of like, 101 videos, cutting and lighting, and then going deeper into that. You guys have probably done a video on it, but for those maybe watching that don't know, how much would you say that retrohaling a cigar, adds or takes away? Because I think we've learned throughout the industry, not a lot of people retrohale, overall. So is there something that maybe people miss by not retrohaling, or is it kind of just preference to that person if they don't know how to retrohale or haven't learned yet?
Well, most of the experienced cigar smokers that I've met, they believe that it does. They believe that when you retrohale the smoke, you get a lot of flavors. In fact, I think it was Christian Aroa who said, he insists on, retrohaling, because that's where a lot of flavors are. Now, I had some problems with my sinuses some years ago, and so I really try not to retrohale too much. And I'm not even sure if I'm getting the true flavors anyway, because my sense of smell is a little bit off since then, unfortunately. But I can still taste pretty well. And I would say that it's probably the majority would tell you, yeah, there are things in there that you might get a little more of a peppery note. A lot of times it's very peppery. I noticed that, right? So you might get more of a woody note or more whatever. There's little things or little nuances that tend to hide in the smoke that you will pick up with your nose. But I'm not really big on retrohaling, but that's just me personally because of what happened to me.
Yeah.
But, do you retrohale? I mean, you both do that?
Yeah. I retrohale, and for me, that's one of the more enjoyable parts. Is that I like to feel the strength kind of in my nose a little bit. Sometimes you can retrohale a cigar and you don't feel that the smoke is coming out. It doesn't have that strength. So I know when I have a cigar, I like to retrohale and feel a little bit of that strength in my nose.
I don't do it every puff. Maybe every third or fourth.
Okay.
Just because I know the heat going through your nasal passages can over time affect it, and you almost would not be able to smell as well. Putting the heat over your nasal passages. So I try to not do it on every single puff when I'm smoking all the time. Or if I'm not smoking for necessarily a purpose or whatever it may be, or I'm just careful that when I do it.
Right.
But I do really enjoy doing it.
That's a lot of guys do. I remember many years ago I was doing a thing with Jose Blanco, and he said that he'll usually retrohale in the first third, like for each third, just to get just to see what else is going on in there. I don't really, like I said, I don't really do it very much. But I'll tell you this: I did do it while you were speaking, and I got a nice, kind of, I guess, kind of I would say white pepper, like a peppery kind of thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, stinging or anything like that. It was, just kind of, nice.
Do you get any of those subtle nutty notes on the undertone of the cigar?
In the retrohale?
Yeah, or just when you puff it, either.
Yeah, there is a little bit, like maybe like a cashew note. Yeah, it's. I'll tell you, it's got some zing right now, and I'm just about getting up to the 1 inch mark.
I would say this cigar is about medium plus in terms of
right now
flavor profile and strength.
Yeah. Would you say? It's like I said, it's listed as full bodied. Would you agree that it's a full bodied cigar for the most part?
I have such a hard time determining what a cigar is anymore in terms of strength. Because I mean, we smoke so many cigars at this point that if someone tells me it's full bodied, I'm like, I had that for breakfast with my coffee. I don't even feel it anymore. I can't really tell necessarily. It's more about the flavor for me at that point, just because the nicotine level means nothing to me at this point.
Yeah, I think that it's all relative to the person. Like Alex said, we all smoke a lot, so a strong, a really strong cigar might be medium to full. So it really depends on the person, how often they smoke, and what types of cigars they tend to smoke. So, for a lighter cigar smoker, this might be full strength. And then something that I know gets thrown around a lot is full strength and full body. People say, and I think, again, you guys have done a video on this. A lot of people throw body in for strength, but a lot of times people are talking about, how flavorful is the cigar? Is it round? Does it hit you on all parts of your palate? So, I think it's important to continue to try to make that distinction between, how strong is the cigar and how, full-bodied is the cigar, because there truly is a big difference. And again, that's all relative to that specific cigar smoker. Alec smokes, probably 5-6 cigars a day. It's not gonna impact him as much as someone that smokes, once a week, Bob. I know. So.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, you do build up a resistance, I think, in a sense. It's It's like anything else.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit. Your first cigar was called Blind Faith.
Yep.
Which always reminds me of one of my favorite old record albums. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
A lot of people do say that.
You're a little young for that.
No,
we're
familiar.
Great record. Okay, anyhow, had some great people from the 60s and 70s playing on it. Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker. And anyway, Steve Winwood. But Blind Faith. So tell us a little bit about Blind Faith and, how you even came up with the whole concept. Like, this is like your first cigar, right? Like, where do you start?
That was the ultimate question, was where do we start, which was the hardest part for us. So, and trying to figure out, what does a brand look like? What does the first brand look like for Alec and I? Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to tell the story of basically how our cigar journey starts, what our career looks like. And that's how the name Blind Faith came about, is that we're this is our first try. This is our first attempt at our own brand. So whether it be you guys, people that are buying our cigar, trying it, they need to have some blind faith in us. Our father trusting us and creating not just the cigar, but the brand itself and marketing the brand. Everyone around us, anyone that's involved, that smokes a cigar or buys the cigar, has to have some sort of blind faith in us. And if that was really it. And if you kind of look at the packaging, it's got this retro TV head with the old SMPTE color bars and in the TV, and then the test check that would pop up with the Indian head on it. And so we wanted something that would kind of be a throwback to everyone. That was something that Alec and I grew up with, seeing on TV. A lot of people would say, you guys are even too young for that, but you're wrong. Right. But it's something that we grew up with, so it was a little part of our childhood, but something that we knew everyone older than us would remember. So we wanted to have a connection of a little bit of a younger generation to an older generation, and where do we find that common ground?
Right. Well, I got to tell you right now, the ash on this Gatekeeper is really nice. It's very dark. It's kind of a mix of like very dark gray and light gray. And I'm just going to test this firmness right here. And that's pretty firm. It's really nice. And I'll tell you, it's already starting to smooth out a little bit,
Yeah. And that's what I noticed with the construction of Gatekeeper, is that about an inch to an inch and a half is where it'll start to, knock off every little bit. So construction on the cigar is fantastic. Ernesto does obviously a wonderful job. So it's always.
That leads me to my next question. Alec, why don't you take us through a little bit through the process of working with Ernesto Perez-Carrillo?
That was an extremely fun process, I've got to say, because Bradley and I have this mentality when it comes to blending cigars where I guess we kind of do it backwards from the way that a lot of other people do it, is we concept first and then build a cigar around that concept in terms of what the emotion that we get behind it. And I learned a lot from Ernesto, a lot I can't talk about because he said a lot of this information of how I do this and teaching you my processes is privileged. But the one thing he did do was show us the way that he builds up a cigar and his process in doing all of it. And we were really fortunate to get to, gain that experience and that knowledge. But I'll tell you, Bradley was a little bit intimidated, like he said, about meeting Ernesto. And I had known Ernesto for years at that point.
Okay.
But still, this is my first time working with another factory outside of either Rice's Cubanas or Plasencia.
Yeah.
And going to his office for our first meeting, I was a little bit nervous myself just because I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of thinking, we'll be there for an hour.
Right.
We'll talk about what we want. And we'll be back on the road. Yeah, 6 hours later, we were just, shooting the shit, having a great time, talking about cigars the entire time, but, talking about life also, kind of going through what we were looking for in terms of a blend, in terms of, in terms of the blend, really, just to kind of figure out what we wanted in terms of that profile. And I mean, we did that a few times with Ernesto. He came back with some great stuff. He kind of took some direction that we were giving. He gave us some direction. And the best part was that a lot of people have said it, and I think we agree, is that it doesn't necessarily taste like an Alec Bradley, and it doesn't necessarily taste like an Ernesto. It's this weird hybrid that lives on its own, and that was coming up with the final product was kind of probably the coolest part of the process, just because of that fact and of what we created. And it was just the whole experience. I mean, I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Yeah. Now I know that Ernesto does like to use these mixes of Dominican, Nicaraguan, you know, in the core, and he likes to use that a lot. Did he start with the wrapper? A lot of blenders start with the wrapper, then they say, okay, well, we're going to bring in, you know, these.
I can't tell you that.
Okay. All righty then. Well,
he showed us his specific process, and
no, I know, but I know a lot of blenders have told me, you know, they say, I start with the wrapper. I found this great wrapper, you know, a couple months ago or a couple years ago, and I'm just holding on to it, you know, for something really, you know, special that I want to do. So that's why I asked that.
Yeah. Well, in our meetings, we had talked about different, you know, some of the different wrappers that he has and different wrappers that he uses. So we had a few on the table, and one of them being the Ecuadorian Habano, which he uses. So it was one that Alec and I definitely gravitated towards from the profile.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you that the cigar is really rounding out nicely now. I'm just really deep into the first act, as I call it, and I'm really liking it. What I wanted to ask you about that, though, and I'm sure you can tell me this, is what's the most important thing you learned from Ernesto in making Gatekeeper?
I would say that basically and it's probably something that any person would tell you, but, you know, trust your own palate. You know, don't, even if Ernesto likes, you know, if he presented us 5 cigars and he may like one the most, just because he may like one the most doesn't mean that that's the right cigar. You know, we know what's best for us and what we like. And I think, again, anyone would say, you know, don't put something out on the market that you wouldn't buy yourself, that you don't enjoy smoking just because you think other people may enjoy it and you don't. You want to have that trust in your product, in your cigar. So, you know, don't, just because someone has more experience and may like something better doesn't mean that they know what's best for you.
Yeah,
that's true.
My answer is very similar to that, but a little bit different.
Sure.
It's trust your palate and trust what you know.
Right.
Because most of the times with other factors that we work with, whenever we come up with a blend, they'll send us a bundle of 20 cigars or maybe 2 bundles of 20 cigars. Ernesto would literally hand us 3 cigars of the blend. And because he kind of expected that after smoking it, if one of us needed to smoke it a second time just to give it another try, we should be able to trust our palates moving forward, and we don't need 20 cigars to make a decision on what we like.
Okay.
We should know. You need to trust your palate. You need to go with your gut and kind of move forward from that with that decision. You don't need to smoke it 5 times to know whether you like it or not. So that was some really valuable wisdom that he imparted on us, which I've definitely smoked less samples after working with Ernesto.
Yeah, I'll never forget one time many years ago, I was taken down to Honduras, actually, where you're familiar with, to the Plasencia factory, and we were making a cigar for Famous Smoke Shop. And they brought out this, you know, so we're sitting around this table. It's Arthur and me and Hal. And they bring out this tray with like 100 cigars. Like, oh, no, we're not going to smoke all those, are we? And, you know, we ended up smoking a lot of them, I'll tell you that. So we decided on the blend. I don't know how these guys do it. I guess, you know, they just have a very well-trained palate. You know, let me ask you a question. Now, what do you, I would assume that what we're getting out of this cigar is kind of like what you guys, after, you know, what you just explained. This is what you like in a cigar.
Yeah, we blend everything for our palates. We blend everything what we like, and then we hope that everyone likes it as well. We're never blending for the marketplace. We're never blending for what we think ratings will be or anything like that. Everything is just about what we enjoy. And Bradley and I, even though our palates are a little bit similar in ways, are vastly different. So for us to find something that we agree upon is, we know we have a home run.
All right. Well, anyway, it's time for a taste check. What are you guys getting right now? I'll start with you, Brad. Go ahead.
So for me, I get more of like a woody cedar note. I see me, the leather has kind of toned down, and the wood and nuttiness has kind of come up. And then I noticed for me that the nicotine is starting to build as well.
Oh, okay. How about you, Alec?
I agree with several things of what Brad just said. I'm getting the cedar notes. The nicotine is definitely picking up a little bit. I taste the nuttiness, but this rich sweetness has also come in for me. But it's not so prevalent where it's like just completely overwhelming your palate with sweetness. It's just like really nice on the back end, but it's just this nice rich sweetness. What about you, Gary? What are you getting?
Well, I'm getting a lot of the same things, so that's good that we're all consistent. You know what makes it even more interesting? I'm smoking in New Jersey. You're smoking in Florida. And we all have the same thing. Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
No, but seriously, I'm getting that rich kind of like cedar note, something like almost like a molasses like sweetness.
Yes.
And definitely some of that nuttiness and a little bit. There's still that peppery finish, which is kind of nice. And it's actually I guess would you say this was a complex cigar? I think it's it's got its virtues.
I would say the cigar is complex. Definitely. I'm a little bit further down the cigar than you guys are because I had to take off my band. So maybe the flavors that I'm getting right now will pick up a little bit for you guys. But I'm getting basically the same thing.
Well, I'm getting a little close to the gold blood here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over from the coffee, and the coffee is great with this cigar, by the way. And I think it's a wonderful cigar for this time of the day. We're filming this about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful right now. I'm gonna give the Gentleman Jack a shot.
Cool.
What do you guys like to pair with your cigars? Or what do you recommend for this one, anyway?
The one thing I found for Gatekeeper is that honestly, it pairs pretty well with anything. I can do coffee. I can do some beer. I can do whiskey. And it holds up pretty much across the board for me. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, Alec and I definitely gravitate towards bourbon or scotch. And then me, I drink a little bit more beer than Alec does. But that was something that we both wanted to accomplish in this cigar, is having something that pairs well with multiple drinks, whether it be red wine or rum. So I think the cigar holds up in whatever alcoholic beverage that you decide,
or non-alcoholic,
or if you want to drink coffee. But I don't think there's any wrong pairing. I think you're going to enjoy the cigar immensely with whatever.
So Alec, I've got my Gentleman Jack here. What do you like to pair with your cigars, or the Gatekeeper for that matter?
I generally drink whiskey, but I pair with coffee. I pair with whiskey, with beer occasionally. I'm pretty open to what I pair with, but I find that Gatekeeper definitely works well with pretty much anything. I've had it with rum. I've had it with gin, wine, across the board. I find that as long as you don't have anything that's too overbearing for the cigar, then it's going to hold up pretty well.
Well, the Gentleman Jack, it does, has a nice quality to it. It's a little bit lighter than I think some other bourbons. This is more of a whiskey than a bourbon, I guess. I don't know really the difference, But like I said, I'm just getting into these bourbons and whiskeys and stuff. I've never been a really big drinker in terms of dark liquors, but I'm kind of liking this.
Bradley and I are the opposite. We are we drink a lot of brown spirits.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Alec gifts me too many bottles of bourbon.
And scotch.
You have a favorite bourbon?
Well, yeah, but Alec, lately you've been on a bourbon kick for quite a while.
That's true.
So,
yeah, for the last couple months.
Alec likes to collect, and he'll throw me a bottle every once in a while. And I don't collect, I drink. So, the bottles tend to go a little bit quicker. And then I also, get into beers a little bit. I really like sours, sour beers. I don't know if that's with Gatekeeper, but I do love sour beers. And like Alex said, I think if you like rum, if you like red wine, maybe, I know a lot of people tend to pair with those. That was something that we were really looking to accomplish with Gatekeeper, is because pairings are very popular with cigars. What cigar is going to go well with any pairing? I think Gatekeeper hits that note.
Yeah, I'm fully entering the second act, and it's time for me to take off the band here.
I'm about to.
It looks like it's like a double
act.
band, isn't it? Look at that.
Yes.
Yep.
So you got the Medusa here. And then we have the Gatekeeper band. I just did a video on how to remove the band on your cigar without tearing it. And there we go. Perfect again. So the cigar has really smoothed out now. I'm really, really liking it. This is definitely in my wheelhouse. I like cigars that are kind of sweet and spicy. Mm-hmm. And you know what's one of my favorite Alec Bradley cigars is the Nicapuro.
I knew you were going to say that.
Why?
As soon as you said sweet and spicy, I was like, okay,
that
was like obvious. Either that or Prensado were the two answers that you were going to give when you said you like sweet and spices.
Yeah, no, the Nicapuro does it for me every time.
I get it.
It's just amazing. But this is really, really nice. And I like it with the Gentleman Jack. It's not too overpowering, the whiskey. So I'm getting a little bit of both, I'm getting like the nice qualities from both. Let me ask you, about working with your dad. What's that like? I mean, I never had to work, never worked with my dad. But,
it is the best and worst experience I've ever had in my life. I get to see my father and my brother every day, which is fantastic. We work together really well most of the time. But, it's business. And, people tend to get at each other's throats a little bit in business and have difference of opinion. And that's just normal. And it's probably a little bit heightened because we're family. But, I mean, who else is that lucky to say that they get to work with their father and brother every single day, get to see them minimum of 5 days a week, unless we're traveling. It really is one of the coolest things that, about being in this business, and also one of the worst things about being in this business.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad. I mean,
yeah.
But what's the most important thing you've learned from your dad?
Bradley?
So far.
Yeah. For me, there's 2 things. I don't know if I'll be stealing one from Alec, but I'll only say one. And that is just to make friends and have connections, reach out to people. If someone, hands you their business card, make sure you hold on to it. Contact, because you never know at what point in your life or career you might need someone that you haven't talked to, or your paths align and you guys can continue to achieve the same goal. So always keep people in mind. Never just say, I'll talk to you later, I'll email you, and never follow through, because you might never know when you need that person, and when you guys can work on something together.
That kind of segues into mine a little bit, actually, and that is always deal with integrity.
Right.
That's one thing that he's always taught us. Not just to do what's right for you, but do what's right, period. And he's displayed that many times, whether it be, you mentioned Nicapuro. When Nicapuro came out, the entire first production was pre-sold, and we got the cigars in for final production. And on the samples, they smoke great at 30 days, 45 days. But when the boxes came in, they were about 60 days, and the cigar wasn't right anymore. Wow. He sent back the entire production, started from scratch, and to make sure he put the right product out there, not just for the consumers or for whatever it is, but also for the retailers that smoked it and enjoyed it. We couldn't just he couldn't just do the wrong thing and put a cigar out if he didn't think it was good. So dealing with integrity is one of the main things that he taught us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something that kind of relates directly to you guys. My dad went into my grandfather's business. They worked together for a while. And then my uncle joined him. So it was family business. And my dad used to tell me all the time, my grandfather would tell them, you're only as good as your name. It's like your reputation is everything.
Yeah. So what's funny about that is one of the reasons my dad said he put our names on the company is because it would hold him to a higher standard, because his kids' names are on the company. There was a few reasons, but that was one of them. So that goes back to dealing with integrity.
Absolutely. I just had some of that 85% chocolate It's nice too. I'll tell you, this is just a great all-around cigar, you know?
Thank you. I appreciate
I'm
that.
really digging it. And I got to be honest with you, it's my first. I've not had the Gatekeeper until today.
Really?
Yeah. So,
That's
you know,
funny.
sometimes I lag a little with some of these cigars, but actually sometimes it's good because on this particular show where we're reviewing a cigar, you know, it's nice to get like some first impressions.
Absolutely.
As well, you know. But now I want to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to the company. And this is somebody told me that Alec Bradley's providing food and other essential items for like something like 700 families in Honduras or something. Can you talk a little about that? Who wants to take that, Bradley or Alec?
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay, go ahead, Brad.
You
Is
know,
it okay to call you Brad?
Yeah, Brad, Bradley doesn't. I respond to both. But once COVID-19 hit and we saw everything shut down, and Honduras wasn't too far to follow that, you know, people are out of work and they weren't getting paid and, you know, didn't know where they would be getting food from. So, you know, we have a strong connection with Honduras, with our factory, Rice Cabanas, and that's the factory that Alec Bradley has grown up with that, you know, made a lot of the cigars that everyone loves. So it was, you know, a no-brainer for my father to try and figure out immediately how do we get food and you know, cleaning supplies or sanitary products to Honduras. And so the freezers that are meant for the tobacco in the factory were turned into refrigerators to keep, you know, eggs and rice and all this different food for the factory workers. And, you know, we want to make sure that the people that are within our Alec Bradley family, you know, from our sales team to everyone in the office to everyone down in the factories, that they're not trying to figure out, you know, are their jobs in jeopardy? Are their families in jeopardy? We want to make sure that during the craziest time in my lifetime, you know, you know, how do we all stick together and make sure that we're okay for the future?
Right. And how are you guys handling this whole thing? I mean, you don't all live together, right? So,
no, thank
I mean, what's you know, I mean, Florida, I know, is probably one of the better states in terms of, you know, how they're handling the virus. I think DeSantis has done a great job. But, you know, how are you guys handling it?
It was definitely weird at the beginning. So the day that everything started shutting down, I was on a business trip basically and had to fly back early because everything was so crazy. And then a few days after that, I think we kind of shut down the company. Maybe like 3 or 4 days after that, we shut everything down for about 23 days. It was kind of weird for me personally because I was in the middle of a move. Like 2 days after I got back from my trip, I had to move. I didn't have a choice. So, you know, that first week that we had not off of work, but working from home, I was moving. So that was very strange for me. And after that, though, just figuring out how to work from home, how to stay on top of everything. We started doing a lot of like different interviews or virtual herfs and all this stuff, and it created this weird new normal for, you know, about a month and a half. That was very strange, but I got to tell you, I was so happy to get back in the office. Yeah,
I know. I've been working from home too, and yeah, I really like having the opportunity to go into an office every day, and I can spread out on my desk, and you know, I have more room. Right now, I'm using a little desk I bought from one of my sons when he was in high school.
Yeah,
I have 2 boys too, and you're 3 years apart?
3 years. Yeah.
Oh boy.
How old are your boys?
Who beats up who?
He beats me up.
He beats you up.
Yeah.
You know, they get along pretty well, actually. Actually, one of them is in LA, and he's really jammed up with this whole thing. I mean,
I'm sure they're shut down for another 3 months or something like that.
It's terrible.
Jeez.
But he's been working virtually, fortunately. So now, Alec, you said you're engaged?
Yes.
You live with your fiance?
I do. Yeah.
At least you have companionship.
Oh, absolutely. She's like the only person I physically have touched in 60 days. Like,
All right.
or longer, or whatever it is at this point. Like, I'm so used to like giving my brother a hug or my father, or like whatever people in the office, or I mean, you don't even realize like how many people's hands you shake every day. Like it's such a thing, and it's just so weird that none of that is happening right now.
Yeah, but you know, the business has been very good. Are you surprised at that the cigar business is just moving along in spite of all this?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised, just because people have so much free time on their hands right now being at home that, you know, they get to enjoy their hobby a little bit more. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for different people. I think, you know, there's a consumer confidence that has weakened since the coronavirus. You know, people that may not have as much money to spend on cigars now have to dial back, or you know, maybe they were buying more expensive cigars and now they're saying, hey, well, I still want to buy cigars, but I can afford, you know, some little less price cigars. So, you know, just switching from one product to another. And then, like Alex said, you have people that are at home, you know, aren't working as much, and they're like, hey, I can work from home. I can sit on my balcony or in my backyard and smoke cigar while I work, which is even better. I wasn't able to smoke in the office, so as long as I'm getting my work done, I should enjoy a cigar with it.
Absolutely.
I think there's a balance of people, of two different people.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I am just transitioning out of the second act into the third, and I'll tell you, you know what? I just got a nice little taste of like kind of a nutmeg flavor. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, this has all the flavors I like in it.
So the funny thing is, the nicotine is definitely picking up in the third act. I'm definitely getting some of that.
Well, I guess that's to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, as you smoke down, the nicotine's going to build up a little bit, but I'm just getting a lot of rich flavors off the cigar right now. It started completely different. The cigar is pretty complex.
Yeah. I have a question for you. You know, you know, everyone, a lot of cigar reviewers, you know, first third, second third, third. You go with first act, second act, third act. Is that the Gary Korb signature? You know, is there a reason why yours is a little bit different?
I don't know. I guess I don't. Maybe it's my music background and the fact that, you know, but I don't even know if I, you know, coined that. You know, I just sort of like the way that sounds, so that's what I say. But in a way, it almost is. It almost is like a performance when you think about it. You know, the cigar has to perform well, right? Or you're not going to buy it again. And speaking of prices, I think the MSRP on this Robusto is about $10.50. It's not a cheap cigar.
No.
But this is a very well made cigar. I mean, this has got all, you know, a lot going for it. I'd say it's definitely, you know, worth $10.50. Now, of course, if you buy a box or whatever, you buy it at famous-smoke.com, it's not going to be exactly $10.50. It'll be a little bit less. But who is this cigar for? Who should smoke the cigar?
I think it's for everyone. I think it's for everyone. I think, you know, if you're a beginner cigar smoker, I don't think that this is something that's, you know, out of that range.
I don't think so either.
You know, we talked about complexity earlier, but I think complexity depends on someone's definition. You know, some people, when they think of a complex cigar, they think of getting flavors that you're not going to find in most cigars. And, you know, we talked about leather and wood and sweetness. So there's, you know, there is flavors that you'll find in other cigars, but you see that the cigar changes, that the leather, you know, picks up, and then so does the cedar, and then so does the sweetness. So, you know, that complexity changes as you smoke through the cigar, where some cigars have one flavor that you smoke all the way through. So I don't think that it's too complex of a cigar if you're a beginner. And if you're maybe more advanced, you know, I think that you'll appreciate some of the classic flavors that, you know, that makes this cigar, and that what makes it so good for us is you know, the difference in the change and the nicotine. And I think it's really a cigar for everyone. I don't think anyone should shy away from it.
I have a little bit of a different thought on that.
Sure, go ahead.
I do think that most people would enjoy the cigar, whether you're an experienced cigar smoker or a new cigar smoker. But for people I don't think the cigar is too strong for any specific person at all.
Okay.
I think the depth of flavor might be a little bit overwhelming for like real true new cigar smokers potentially.
Yeah,
But
they'd
for
be a little
any,
lost, I think.
yeah, I think for anyone smoking, 6 months or more, or a year or more, I think the depth of flavor would be fine. But maybe if it's someone's first cigar, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But I do think that I agree with Brian. Most people would enjoy the cigar.
Okay, I agree. Now you guys, you've got 2 cigars out now.
Mm-hmm.
They're legitimate. What's coming down the pipe? I understand something called kintsugi.
Well, first off, I'm glad you think that our cigars are legitimate. That's a compliment right there. Brad, you want to talk about kintsugi?
You're in deep now, guys.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
We're stuck.
Yeah. So you brought it up, kintsugi, and it's something that we're actually working on today. We're working on the packaging and the band design and the artwork right now. Mm-hmm. But we have this fantastic mild to medium blend that's just so nuanced and flavorful. But the idea behind kintsugi, the name, is that it's this old ancient Japanese art form of piecing back broken pottery with gold lacquer. So if it's a plate or a bowl or a vase, they piece it back and you see where the cracks are with this gold lacquer. And so one of the meanings behind it is that there's beauty in the imperfections. And Alec and I thought it was a great way to kind of segue to the state of the industry right now. Just a few months ago, we saw that this industry was very broken and disconnected. We have these ongoing battles with the FDA and where some companies stand against the other, and then we have the trade show, where do some companies stand against other companies. So we have this very fragmented industry, and we're trying to figure out what is the gold lacquer, what brings us together. And naturally it's the cigar, it's the product that we all enjoy. But with COVID-19 happening amidst all of this, we've noticed that's really the gold lacquer that's brought us together. You see us all joining in on these virtual shows and hanging out on online lounges and talking on social media. All these companies that where you could say enemies or against each other are now partnering with each other and creating content for consumers, and all speaking the same language and singing the same tune. So it's good to see that the industry is starting to get a little bit closer together, because we're all going through tough times, and we all are just hoping we're okay in the end.
Well said, Bradley.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just hope it ends soon. I can't take it anymore. But let's do a flavor check. I'm now in the third act, and it's still wonderful. It's still smooth. It's still creamy. A lot of nice smoke too. Good volume. Just really, really wonderful. What are you guys getting? Alec, we'll start with you.
I'm getting these really, really rich, deep flavors right now. Like almost like, I hate to go too far down the flavor spectrum, because I think it can get a little ridiculous. But
yeah, I agree.
This rich raisin note right now that's really nice.
Okay.
I feel a little ridiculous saying it, because people can go off the walls with that a little bit. I got the nutmeg a little bit. And the cedar notes are continuing some, but they're kind of fading a little bit. But this is just, I'm very proud of the cigar. I'm happy with how it came out.
Yeah, I think it's you guys did a wonderful job on this. How about you, Bradley? What are you getting? Same thing, or
a little bit different? Alex said that the cedar was going away. For me, I'm still getting that cedar, but then more of the white pepper that you were talking about seems to be coming through, and then finishing on a sweet note.
So you're not getting any raisin. That's what you're saying, Brad.
Raisins are sweet. So
okay,
I'm not get the
raisin. Sometimes you get like kind of a tart, fruity note from a cigar. I think this is, I'm starting to get a little bit more of that nicotine kick.
Yeah.
I don't mean like up here. I mean like, you can taste it.
You can taste it.
The cigar is definitely getting bolder in this last third here.
Yeah, and I always think that it's interesting but important to point out that, yeah, a lot of when you smoke a cigar, a lot of people will get similar notes, but some people may not get any of those notes. It may be completely different, because we all have different palates. So
exactly.
Going back to the question you said, who is this cigar for? And a lot of people, or let's say newer cigar smokers that, they'll read a review and they say, well, I don't get any of those notes, right. But they're still, working on developing their palate. If you like a cigar, smoke it. You shouldn't feel that because you don't get certain notes that a certain cigar is wasted on you, as long as you enjoy that product. So
yeah, I know. I mean, like Jared and John and I, we sit around and we smoke cigars, pretty much most of the day. And if we're smoking the same cigar, we'll compare notes and stuff. But I was writing an article this morning, and I started to write the description of the flavors, that I got from the cigar. I said, that's like a lot of flavors, Gary. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people are going to relate to all that, But I remember many years ago, Arthur came in and he said to me, he goes, when was the last time you ate leather?
That's good.
I said, I haven't eaten leather.
But goes, I don't think
why do you put it in the description? I said, well,
it's not necessarily about that,
thing,
though. It's not about that, though. It's what you get based off your sense of smell and things that you've eaten in the past. And you might not taste that thing necessarily in the cigar, in my opinion, but it takes you back to that almost like feeling when, like I said, like having raisins, like smelling leather. I mean, you probably are better to explain that than I am if you want to go into that a little bit. It's all about palate recall.
Yeah, it really is, Yeah. I mean, I've read some reviews, I'm sure you have too, from a certain daily website that flavors get a little out of control sometimes, don't they? Yeah.
Soggy waffles.
I got one today. I saw one today in a review. The reviewer picked up sweet tarts.
Sweet tarts.
Sweet tart candy. So I don't know. What are you going to do?
I like sweet tarts.
But, I don't know. Maybe it just makes for interesting reading. I don't know. But this has really, really been a fantastic cigar. I got to ask you one other question. It's very important. When you guys go to lunch, who pays?
We both pay.
Alec always tries to pay.
Yeah.
He always does. But
no, Brad, you pay also. It's not just me.
No, that's why I said tries to, because he's always looking to. But we each go back and forth. And
last time we went out to dinner, I definitely made sure I paid.
Someone always tries to steal the bill. I try and figure out how to steal it back.
I think that's a good thing, though. We're raised in a way that we fight over the bill.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let my brother pay.
But if I'm low on money, I'll let out.
No. Anyway, I got to tell you, I'm really having a great time with you guys. And
pleasure's all ours.
What are you going to do when we? What have you been doing, like, to entertain yourself? I mean, you can't go anywhere. Are you guys into video games and stuff? I mean, I don't do any of that stuff.
I've been getting
coordinated.
I'm getting a little bit back into video games. It's been a while, but I picked up a couple of games from Best Buy, and been trying to get a little bit back into it. Also watching The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. It's killer.
Oh yeah, how is that?
I haven't watched it yet.
So good. Yeah. I couldn't wait to hear about the gambling. It's all I've been waiting for.
Gambling, huh?
Oh yeah.
For me, I have a new place that I'm trying to take care of at this point, and a puppy that takes up way too much of my time. So I've been pretty busy.
All right. Well, at least you.
How about you, Gary? What are you doing to keep busy?
Well, I've been watching a lot of old movies. I love cinema, and
yeah, same.
I love watching. I subscribe to this Criterion channel, and they specialize in like the classic films. A lot of good foreign films too.
Have you ever checked out the AFI Top 100? American Film Institute Top 100?
I've seen it, but I've seen their list, but it was a long time ago. What's going on with
basically
that?
every year they come up with a top 100 films of all time, and I mean I would say probably 80% of them are the same every single year, maybe 90%. But I've been working my way down that down that list for
Oh, that's a good way to go.
Yeah. I love older movies also.
And
every year, number one is Citizen Kane. Every year.
Yeah, I have a copy of that.
Yeah, you have to.
Anything you've watched recently, Gary, from a classic that or an old film that I should watch that I probably haven't seen?
Well, I finally saw this Japanese film called Rashomon, which is a terrific movie. It's about I guess it's basically a story told from different points of view from all the people who were involved in this particular crime that takes place.
That's cool.
And it takes place, I guess, in medieval Japan, I guess during the shogunate. And it's really good. And you get the story of the woman, and you get the story of the guy she was with, and then you get the story of the guy who was, apparently the antagonist in the film, and they're telling it to the judge, and then there you have this fellow who's telling the story to everybody. They're in this, like, it looks like a kind of they're in an old, I guess it used to be a temple. It's been destroyed either by war or by weather, I don't know. And it's pouring rain, and they're just, these three guys sitting around like us, just talking. And
send me the name of that, just so
Rashomon, Rashomon, I think. Rashomon. Yeah, that's the name of the town that they're in while they're telling the story. And
did you watch the Korean film that won all the Oscars this year?
Yes, very good.
Parasite.
That was fantastic.
Excellent movie.
There's a movie by the same director. I'm gonna blank on the name, but it's about like a whole community that's on a train, and they have kind of like the rich and all the way to the poor, and they try and overtake the train. I'm gonna blank. I definitely don't remember the name.
You definitely need to send me that, Brad, or just text it to me.
It's an awesome movie, and they're about to release a show that's based on the movie.
Yeah, I saw Parasite as kind of like a fable in a way. Mm-hmm. It sort of had a message to it. That
I thought it was fantastic. I loved every second of that film. It was
and it had that, like, well, we don't want to give anything away, but the ending is like, woohoo, where did that come from, right?
I got to watch it again.
We're just about at the end here, and I'm in nub territory. I'm loving the cigar.
Down.
And I really want to thank you guys for coming on. Any last thoughts you want to tell the people who are watching about your cigars?
Check out Famous and see what they got. If you haven't tried our cigars, or there's ones that you have been wanting to try, just go check them out. And if there's something that sparks your interest, or some tasting notes that you like, that are coincide with what you do like, give it a try. Why not see if you like something new that you haven't experienced before?
I agree with that.
I agree, and I think these guys are definitely falling into the footsteps of their very talented father.
I hope so.
And all around good guy. Hey, I got to ask you a question real quick. Have you talked to George Sosa lately?
I heard from him not too long ago. Yeah, George is doing great right now.
Everyone.
Yeah, he's a character. I really like George.
He's the best.
And anyway, we're going to wrap it up right here. And I'm going to tell you that you should remember that Alec and Bradley Gatekeeper Cigars and Alec Bradley Cigars are available at famous-smoke.com. And while you're there, be sure you sign up for the free catalog. There's some phenomenal deals in the Famous Smoke Shop catalog. And for more smoking advice and information, please visit us at cigaradvisor.com and subscribe to our emails. You can also follow Cigar Advisor on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And if you like this video and you're watching it on YouTube, like the video, and please subscribe and receive our notifications by clicking a little bell. And once again, I want to thank Alec and Bradley. You guys have been fantastic. I want to wish you guys the best of luck. I know it's a rough time now, but I think you guys are going to be terrific. And you're off to a great start. So thank you very much. And that's all for now. So we'll see you next time on #NowSmoking. Happy smokes.